Bismillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to session 3 of the Muslima Self-Care Conference. This session is especially for all our mommies, mummies to be, new moms, moms of several, with Afra Saeed, who is a postpartum doula. And I'm not going to waste any of her precious time or yours. I'm going to hand it over to you straight away. Afra Saeed, tell us about why mommy matters.
Jazakallah khair, Naima. I'm so excited and honored to be here. I want to start off with a quote, and it says, "The mother needs to be mothered so she can learn how to mother her own baby. When the mother is supported, baby thrives, and her relationships around her thrive, and then the community thrives." And I want you to just think about that quote for a second, or a minute, and really think about what comes to mind when you think about that. Can you relate to that? Can you feel, that is something that you've heard or you have been through, or you actually believe in? Walaikum salam. So I'll start off. I can't see anything in the chat so far, so I'm just going to start off. But I want you to think about that quote. It's a really important one, and I might copy and paste it into the chat as well. And I feel like it should be the baseline of motherhood for everybody. Okay, so my name is Afra Saeed. You might know me as Through Mama's Eyes. I used to be Through Mama's Eyes for the longest time on Instagram. I recently changed it to my name earlier this year. I'm a mother of 3 kids. They are almost 7, 5, and almost 3. So I had kids back to back. I'm based in Southern California. I'm a doula. I've been blogging for the last 6-7 years about motherhood. And basically I use my platform to talk about my experiences in motherhood, and the things that I have had to overcome to reach the point that I am in today. My goal with the work that I do is to help mothers reduce the overwhelm that they go through. I want them to have a beautiful, meaningful experience in motherhood and that journey. I want to help them fill those gaps, those gaps where you just don't know who to turn to, you don't know who to talk to, there's that overwhelm, you feel like Google is just overwhelming. And you need someone that you can rely on, and that's where I come in. And I want to support women through pregnancy, birth, and postpartum, and even as a mother of 3 right now, mothers that are like me as well. So the reason why I got into this work, I wanted to talk a little bit about that, because that ties into this talk and my experience with self-care, and my experience with learning how to take care of myself. As you can tell from what I said, I've had 3 kids back to back, so they're all about 20 to 24 months apart, which is very close together. I had 3 C-sections after very long labors, so they were all traumatic births. I experienced a lot of postpartum depression and anxiety, and what you call now postnatal depletion, and I'm going to go into that. And the postnatal depletion is the effects of all of what we will talk about that comes into motherhood and lack of self-care. Because I live so far away from my family, I have lack of support. I had no plan to take care of myself. All I had a plan was to get into motherhood, take care of my baby, make sure my babies are taken care of, fed, take care of my family. I just became this machine. I became the super mom that we talk about, where I did everything, but there was so much lacking, so much lacking. So much lacking in what I was giving, because I was unfulfilled and I was not really taking care of myself. And that's where that quote comes into play, where you have to mother yourself, and you obviously with your support around you. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of everyone. Like they say that quote, happy mother, happy life, or happy wife, happy husband, or happy wife. Okay, so what is postnatal depletion? And then I'm going to go into self-care in a bit. You might notice me going back and forth. I have notes, a lot of notes, and I'm going to just take, things in from there. So basically, depletion is, when you reach a point where you just can't kind of do it anymore. You're depleted. Depleted means you're just tired. You're not taking care of yourself, whether it's from pregnancy onwards or before pregnancy. You could have been this workaholic like I was, and really didn't take care of yourself. And then you enter motherhood, and then you wonder why you're so tired, why you're so irritable, why you're so, there's a whole list. I'm going to go through them right now. Because nobody really tells us, right? Nobody told me all of this. No, everyone just told me how to take care of the baby, what to buy for the baby, what products I should get, that, you should breastfeed, and these are the tips for breastfeeding, and that's it. Where I should put my baby, I should sleep with them, not sleep with them, and all of that stuff. There wasn't anything about me and how I was going to thrive after that, and how hard that transition would be. And it's okay for that transition to be hard for not only like a few months, but for years. It's okay for that to be hard, because everyone tells you, like, you have a healthy baby, say alhamdulillah. But yes, alhamdulillah, but what about me? You're an amana too, not only your baby, right? um Nobody tells us about the imbalances that will come from having a baby, all the hormone imbalances. And I'm sure Ida will go into like the nutrition aspect of just for mothers and for women in general. How things like your periods will become worse after motherhood. And this is not this is all general information, so some of you might not have experienced this. Some of you might experience this. It just really depends on basically your track record, how you've taken care of yourself up to the point of having your baby and in motherhood. So yeah, we really have to take extra care of ourselves so that we can take extra care of our family. And I really believe that that's what has shaped me so far. I haven't been the best mom that I wanted to be, but I know now how I can help myself, or how I have been able to help myself recently, and that's the things that I'm going to share with you. So just to go into postnatal depletion, have you guys ever heard of postnatal depletion? What is what are your thoughts? What do you think postnatal depletion is in your from your experience, or from things that you might have heard? Even if you're a mom of 5. Never heard of it before. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, and you can write down yes or no, or frequently, sometimes, never, and tell me, and then we're going to add up a score. Okay. Have you ever had any health issues that started during or after pregnancy? Have you had any digestive issues that have probably worsened after having kids? Do you experience fatigue? Do you experience overwhelm? Do you fall asleep when you put your kids to sleep? Are you easily startled? Like, do you get triggered to like your kids' noises and just a lot of sound and light? Are you a light sleeper? Do you experience brain fog? Are you experiencing, do you have a healthy libido after having kids? Are you struggling with just the basics of taking care of yourself? Just basics like grooming yourself. So, things like waxing, for example, or taking care of your nails, your face. Do you have lack of confidence and low self-esteem? No matter how much you do for yourself, do you feel like, you just don't ever have time and you have lack of support? Do you feel like any sense of shame or guilt around your role as a mother? So these are the kind of questions that will explain whether you have postnatal depletion, or you might have a little bit of it, or you don't. Maybe you probably don't have any of it. If your score is really high, if you answered like yes for almost everything, then you possibly have it. And if you said no to a lot of it, then you most likely don't have it, which is good, alhamdulillah. Emotional symptoms that might come from having postnatal depletion is, I mentioned, having hormonal changes which affect your emotions. Loss of sleep obviously affects that. Reduced support, poor prep for postpartum, having a lot of social pressure to do things that you just aren't able to do. Um, Anxiety, reduced libido, isolation, and a lot of anger sometimes because of resentment that builds up. Loss of trust, yeah, and just a lot of that, those are things that come up. Those are symptoms of having, I could go on, there's a whole list, but yeah, those are symptoms of postnatal depletion.
Sorry, sis, can I just jump in for a second?
Sure.
Ladies, can we wake up, please? This chat is just dead and buried. What is going on? This is a yes or no question. If it's a yes, type yes, please. If it's a no, type no. But let Afra know what y'all dealing with, because
Yes.
I'm not used to seeing you guys not actually commenting in the chat. Oh, you're writing in your notebook. Okay, Sarah, then you're let off the hook. But please let I think, Afra, if you want them to say yes or no in the chat, then please just give the list really slowly and tell them.
Okay, sorry.
Comment in the chat so that they know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So do you want me to repeat it, or should I go over the questions?
Really important. Yeah, just like take us through it nice and slowly, and yeah, and let's let people, if it is them, then let them put their hand up and say.
Okay, so I'd love you to just put it in the chat. So say yes or no. So, have you experienced digestive issues after you have a baby? Do you have fatigue? Have you experienced a lot of fatigue? And some people know it as adrenal fatigue. Do you fall asleep with your kids when you put them to bed at like 7 or 8 o'clock, and then you're just like, wait, I wake up at 11 or at 12, and you've lost that whole evening? Are you overwhelmed? Are you easily startled or triggered by little things? A lot of yeses. Do you feel like you are a light sleeper? So you just wake up feeling like you just didn't get enough sleep, no matter how much you slept. Do you have anxiety? Do you have issues with your libido? Are you experiencing what is known as brain fog? So you just can't seem to get, you can't seem to think straight. And if you try to do work, you can't do it. Do you struggle with just basic things, taking care of yourself, just grooming yourself? Do you have lack of confidence and self-esteem? Do you feel like no matter what, no matter how much support you get, you still feel like something is not right, Do you have a sense of shame, guilt around different things in your role as a mother? So yeah, there's a lot of yeses here, and so that would indicate that you likely have postnatal depletion. And even if you don't have postnatal depletion, these are still things that need to be addressed. So I just want to say that if you said yes, there's nothing wrong with you. A lot of moms and a lot of women in general, with anything, you just feel shame for the things that might be wrong with you, because society has placed this pressure on us where, you have to be this perfect mom, that you have to love your baby, you cannot you have to love motherhood, you have to be on top of things all the time. And unfortunately, that's not the reality of things. So having these feelings, these emotions, whether you've experienced hormonal changes, you can't sleep, or you have no support, and you have anxiety, all of these things, whether you have a lot of anger, sadness, you just kind of fluctuate a lot. These are things that happen. These are real, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. So I just want to point that out in case people are not putting them in the chat because of that. There's nothing wrong with you. You're all amazing mothers, and these are just things that are the effects of motherhood, and possibly lack of self-care and lack of support that we can, inshallah, help ourselves with and fix over time. Anger, yes, I can relate to that too. if you have a lot of hormonal issues, you're going to experience a lot of anger. If you have a lot of resentment, you might experience, so resentment could come up with things like you don't get help around the house a lot, and then you feel resentful towards your partner, or you feel resentful towards your kids sometimes, because no matter what you do, they don't listen, for example. So you just have that resentment, like, why won't anyone listen to me? Or why is my husband leaving these socks everywhere all the time? Or why can't he just pick up the kids when they're crying? Why do I have to run to them? So there's a lot. And this book that I got a lot of you can learn a lot about postnatal depletion, is called Postnatal Depletion. It's available on Amazon and everywhere. It's a really good book. I'll try and post a link in, I don't know if I can get that, but it's called Postnatal Depletion. And I feel like it is a must read for any new mother. So if you can get that, I would really highly suggest you reading it. You can get the audiobook too. I love listening to audio, so it's great. Because the more you read, the more you're aware of what's happening when you're growing a baby, what will happen during birth, what will happen postpartum, and why you need to take care of yourself, and why it's so important to do those things, and the implications on your body. Okay, I wanted to add one more thing here. People might be wondering, because you've not heard of postnatal depletion, but you've heard of postpartum depression, and you've heard of baby blues, and you've heard of postpartum anxiety, for example. So those are things that also lead to postnatal depletion, because let's say you had the baby blues, you had postpartum depression, you had postpartum anxiety, and then it kind of fades on and off, but then you had other symptoms that came along. You never took care of it. So then that means, and the result of all of that will be postnatal depletion. So that's why it's important to kind of tackle it in the beginning when you realize it. Okay, so let's talk about how we can overcome this, right? And where it starts. So if you're already a mom, it will start where you are. But if you are not a mom and you're pregnant or trying to get pregnant, it starts there. Please take care of yourself. Please, watch your diet, like during pregnancy. Take care of yourself during pregnancy. So things like self-care would be things like movement, like exercise, yoga, journaling, taking time to really visualize what having a baby will be like, what your birth will be like, because birth as well is very important. But it's kind of like the key to how your motherhood experience is going to be, because sometimes when you have a traumatic birth experience, it results in you, like, obviously holding on to a lot of birth trauma. And if you are someone who, yes, that is the book by Dr. Oscar. He's from Australia. If you are someone who's experienced birth trauma, I'd love to, please post it in the chat. So, and if you're pregnant, I'd love to know what is your top thing for taking care of yourself in pregnancy. Please post in the chat as well. So for pregnancy care, diet is really important. Having nutritious foods like with fatty acids, having a good I lost the word vitamin, the prenatal vitamins, lots of movement, journaling, exercising, meditation. Has anyone here tried meditation? Please post in the chat. I'm going to say that because it's like I'm talking to the laptop. Okay, so what is your experience with meditation? I'd love to know how you feel after meditation. For anxiety and depression. Okay, yes, it's really important. And there's lots of meditations where you can prepare for your birth that way. You can visualize your birth, and you can visualize your postpartum period. There are meditations for breastfeeding as well. So there's a lot of meditations out there. Okay, so and then the other thing during your pregnancy that you can do is planning your birth and advocating for yourself throughout your pregnancy. And we'll talk about that in the postpartum plan and how you can do that in your planning. And then obviously having a postnatal or postpartum plan. Okay, so designing your postpartum plan. Has anyone here ever made a postpartum plan? And this is not your birth plan, but it is your postpartum plan, like how your postpartum period is going to go. Anyone else? No. Takia says no. No, never thought about it. I'm going to wait a few seconds to see how many no's come through. No. I didn't either. So I did not have a plan postpartum for all three of my babies. I just kind of winged it, went into it, and yeah, the results of that were not great. So when you're making your postpartum plan, and this is where I want you to take notes, but I will send this to you guys later. So I will provide my email after the presentation, and then I can send this to you over email. So I don't want you to, if you don't want to take notes as well, I can send this to you. Basically, that's what I'm saying. Okay. So when you design your postpartum plan, you want to think about several things. One of the main important things, obviously, is your needs, not the baby, not your family, not how, you're going to take care of the baby and everything, but your needs. What do you need postpartum to thrive? What food do you need? How are you going to experience love in that period of time? How are you going to experience, how are you going to have companionship? You have to incorporate nature and movement. Okay. And when I say movement, I mean, exercise, walks, and different things. I will put that in there as well. And then obviously consider all your family, your friends around you, and all of this will go into how your needs will be supported in the postpartum period. So I'm going to go into a couple of things and why these things are important. So why is rest important? So in our culture, and I think a lot of cultures, removing the Western culture, resting for that first 40 days is very important, right? It is and if you have done that, I would love to hear. If you have, please post it in the chat, because that always gets me excited to hear when women have actually really rested during those 6 weeks after birth. And for some women, for some cultures, it could be up to 60 days, and it could be as low as 20 days or as low as 1 week in our Western culture right now. Because you want to remember, resting is important because you want to rest to recover. You don't want to rest so that you can do the next thing in 5 minutes. You want to rest to recover from birth so that you can be the best mom that you want to be, right? You want to give your mind, your body, your soul time to heal, and yes, we do have to heal from birth. We do have to heal from becoming this new person that we are becoming, because we don't get time to do that. We are just thrown into this new thing called motherhood, and we're just expected to just roll with it and keep going, just drive. But when you obviously take care of a car when you drive, right? You have to take care of the engine. You have to do all these things to really make sure the tires are full. The air in the tires are full. You have to make sure there is gas in the car and all of those things, right? So there's a lot of elements that go into you thriving in motherhood. And this will obviously help you in your long-term health, Food. A lot of people don't realize, I think now it's becoming very, very, popular, having like food that will help your uterus heal, eliminate blood, and build your strength, and warm food. My experience with that as well, my mom, with my first and my third, she did visit me. So I don't have any family in the US. My family is back in Africa, in the UK, between like Africa and the UK, and in the Middle East, so all over the world. So my mom would always say, like, she brought all these things when I had my first baby, and I did not have any of them. I was just so like, why do I need to have this? Why are you not letting me have cold water? Why are you not letting me have what I want to eat? Like, she said, she would keep pushing me, keep yourself warm, wear socks, don't let your hair be wet when you come out of the bathroom, make sure that it's dry. You don't want to have any chills. You need your body to be warm the whole time during recovery. It's so important. So if you've ever heard that, or if you hear that, know that it's actually important, because you want your body and your uterus to heal. And the best way it will heal is by having warm foods, warm drinks, and keeping warm. Being pampered, love. So we, again, the supermom mentality, and just like jumping into motherhood and doing everything, especially when you have kids that are already at home, and taking care of them. When I had my C-section with my third, I had to go back in to get my I had it basically, the scar opened, the incision, because I was not really taking care of myself. I wasn't resting, I wasn't sleeping. My kids had colic, my boys especially. So I wasn't sleeping. I was just waking up all the time to cry, to tend to crying, and I was crying. And it was a mess. So you know, we really need to be pampered, and we really need to be taken care of. And I know that a lot of you will probably think, well, I don't have anyone to pamper me. I don't have my parents here. I don't have someone there. So there are ways that you can either hire, or you can make it happen for yourself, okay? That could be through either hiring a masseuse or steaming at home. I'll talk more about that later. Binding, have you heard of belly binding? Has anyone had any belly binding done before? Belly binding is basically the traditional cultural method to what we do, what we buy off Amazon, basically the, now I forget the name, but oh my God, can someone help me please? Oh, it's the, do you know what I'm talking about? It's the girdles. Yes, the girdles, not a baby wearing thing, the girdles that we put on ourselves to shape it for our bellies. Yes, a girdle, exactly. So there's a lot of benefits to doing it with belly binding versus the girdle, because it basically just squeezes all your muscles together, and it's not healthier. It's not healthy to do it that way. And yeah, so there's lots of other ceremonies and things that you could do to be pampered. You could hire a doula, postpartum doula, who does these services. You could hire someone who just does, you could go somewhere to do things like that, and you could just pamper yourself. You could include this in your plan, okay? Companionship, what's the difference between belly binding and using a girdle? So the girdle, basically, it compresses your muscles too fast, too soon. And so that's not good for your uterus and for your, obviously, your womb. But when you have the belly binding, it does it very gradually. So with a belly binding, you will notice that you'll put it on, and as time goes along, you'll have to tighten it as your belly goes in. So it kind of gives you that natural slow pace of helping your belly. Rather than, and there's also a paste that you put with spices and herbs that you kind of roll over your belly to nurture the uterus as well. So there's lots of you know, natural benefits to using that. I used a girdle. I didn't know about belly binding either. And yeah, with the girdle, like within a few weeks, it gets loose, and then you can't use it again, right? But that's the, yes, to help. Yeah, exactly. That is the goal of it. Yeah, and then I want to talk about companionship. So because I mentioned that that was one of the things that you should incorporate into your plan. So you know how we have a lot of people who visit us, and then after 1 or 2 weeks, you just never hear from them. They just come visit you, and then you just never hear from them. They never text you, they never call, and you are left with that stress to entertain visitors, to take care of them while they're visiting all the time. And this is constant in your postpartum. I remember when I had my first baby and I went home, it was my first C-section. The birth was traumatic. I did not expect it to go the way that it did. And I got home, I was in so much pain. And I had not taken my meds. I remember going into the bathroom while my father-in-law and his wife and my mother were in the living room. My husband had gone out to get my meds. because you'd have to take it every 4 hours. And I just broke down crying. I was just crying so hard that they heard me in the living room and they came to the bathroom to ask me, what's going on? Are you okay? And I said, I'm fine, I'm fine. You know, the typical thing that we do as women, I'm fine, I'm okay. But you're not fine. And I just remember my father-in-law's wife, when I came out, just coming to me and giving me this big hug, and I just broke down crying even more. And it just made me feel better. You know, you want people like that who are going to come and actually support you when they visit you, not people who will come and then tell you it's okay, you're fine, you had a C-section. You know, alhamdulillah, as long as you and your baby are healthy, you know, yes, it's Allah's will, and that was what Allah planned for us. However, no, it's not that baby and mama healthy, so all is good and dandy. No, you know, you have to, you want people around you who are going to actually nurture you and help you, you know. You need the company of supportive people who will take care of you, who will ask you, how are you doing, what do you need? So you want those people around you, and you want to set those boundaries and say no when you don't want these people to be around you that first few, you know. I'm sure you've heard of, did any of you have boundaries after you had the baby? So telling people that you don't want visitors for the first 2 weeks. I'm sure you've heard some people do that, right? Has anyone done that? If you have, post in the chat, and I'm going to be so proud of you. No. My husband did that for me. That's amazing. That's amazing. And that's also really crucial, that connection with your spouse and speaking to them and asking and having that discussion with them before you have the baby. So and then the other thing is, I'm sorry, there's an issue with the lighting. Okay, another thing is, so I mentioned nature, right? Nature and movement. So you want to do things like maybe set your, if you're nursing your baby, have nurse them where you can maybe look outside the window, look at nature, or get some fresh air. Set up a bath for yourself. You know, I'll talk about more about this as well I'll give you a whole list of things that you can do at home. And a bath is only if you haven't had a C-section, by the way. I'm sure most moms would not feel okay doing that. I had no visitors. Telling people, yes, it is hard, but you know, there are ways that you can do that to possibly like avoid it. If you can't do it, then just having a really good self-care plan, or maybe a limit where how many people can visit you, or just maybe the other thing is organizing a large gathering after 2 weeks and saying that, inviting everyone prior and telling them that they're welcome to come and see you and the baby in 2 weeks. So that will give you time to kind of mentally adjust to motherhood, and not that you will be adjusted in 2 weeks, but it gives you that time not to have people at your door every single day.
That we want coming round are people coming round to bring food and do housework, yes. And that's it. Yes. And
not making you do the housework.
Yeah. I just wanted to say the reason I dropped that comment in there is because obviously, you know, it's part of this whole conversation about self-care, which is about boundaries, which is something that many women struggle with, setting boundaries, because our boundaries can make other people feel uncomfortable, right? People feel that they have the right to expect certain things from us, and when we say no, this is my boundary, obviously it's not always welcome. So could you just speak to that, please, Afra?
Yes.
Who are thinking, oh, well, that sounds amazing, but I could never do that because my auntie, my cousin, my friend, oh, this what would be saying this and they'll be saying that, and you know, we've never done that and I've never heard of that being done. Could you just quickly touch on that for anybody who is thinking, oh, don't know how that would go down, you know?
So you know, as amazing as it sounds, to have, you know, someone come over and, you know, help you, you might not have that, right? So you want that peer-to-peer support, right? So setting those boundaries is only going to give you that strength, right, in motherhood. And also being able to say no is very important. And having the strength to say no, especially as a first-time mom. I feel like a second and a third-time mom might know this better and be like, okay, I don't want this to happen again, or I don't want that to happen again. But as a first-time mom, you're not going to know that, and you're not going to know what you need, because you know, in the sense that, you know, it's almost like you have to experience it to know it, right? So this is what the experiences that we have, and the things that we can advise you to do, right? As mothers, and as people who, and as professionals who see the effects of not setting those boundaries. And the boundaries will come in, I think, setting a plan. So like, let's say it's your family or someone, your husband's family, having an appointed person, let's say your mom or your, if you have parents around you, maybe your mom or your sister or someone in your family, to kind of take care of all of that and kind of help you avoid that. You might have that extreme circumstance where your mom is like, nope, they have to come and visit. This is our culture. This is our tradition. There's no way. You don't want to reach a point where you're like, your mom is like disowning you or something like that. You know, that's just an extreme. But you want to set those boundaries before, and you want to talk about it before you have the baby, not after. So you can start talking about this months before you have the baby, and talk to your parents, talk to your friends, talk to your husband, your in-laws. If you don't want to talk to them, ask your husband to talk to them, but try to set these boundaries from before. And it's only a couple of weeks. And, you know, there's something that just came to my mind, but when I had my first baby, right, and after my mom left and everything, I remember her commenting on me and my sister, and she said, I think that I want to come to visit you after a couple of weeks. I want to be there in the first couple of weeks, but you guys are really like, you know, hormonal and mean, and like, you're just not yourselves. And that's the other thing, right? You're not going to be yourself at that time. You have a lot of hormones, you have baby blues, you're exhausted, you're tired, and um, being around people is just going to like exacerbate that and make it worse. So you know, I'm glad my mom realized it on her own. And she still came with my third, but she did vow never to come again if we had a baby, until we've kind of had our own alone time for a couple of weeks. And I think that's important. You know, people have to realize that, yes, that's, you know, and that's part of, yes, that's just like Naima said, it's part of making the plan. And that's why we have to make this plan, I believe, because it's crucial to let people know this is the plan. This is what, it's just like your birth plan, right? You go into birth with a plan. Or a lot of people do, some people don't, but if you go into birth with a plan, why aren't you going into birth, into motherhood with a plan? Because that is the rest of your life, right? That is the rest of your journey. Birth is just the, you know, some people, alhamdulillah, are a few hours, some people could take 2-3 days. So you want to have the plan after, what's going to happen after you leave that hospital. Okay, let's get to the plan. I was just crying. Seriously, I was just crying all the time after birth. I felt very scared that my child would get hurt for some reason. Yes, and that's part of postpartum anxiety and depression sometimes, mostly anxiety, where you couldn't sleep. And so those are symptoms. So, you know, there's a difference between baby blues and feeling these extreme feelings where you're worried, so worried about your children that they're going to, either that something's going to happen to them, or that you might harm them because of your feelings, or you can't sleep at night because you don't know what's happening to them. So that's when you know that you need to speak to somebody at that time, whether it's a friend. And then if you notice that the feelings keep going on, you need to speak to someone, a professional. And again, that is okay to speak to someone. I remember when I went to my first postpartum visit, 6 weeks, the lady said, do you have did you have any postpartum depression? I was like, no, I'm fine. You know, I didn't tell her about all the days that I was crying through the night because my son wouldn't stop crying. All the arguments I was having with my husband over like, people visiting maybe, or just things like that. All the times I was crying breastfeeding, the feelings of hopelessness and loneliness and all of that. I didn't talk to her about that because I thought, hey, I'm supposed to get through this. I can't tell her I have postpartum depression. It's not okay, you know. And I want you to know that it is okay to talk to someone about it, because these things happen, and you know, it is all part of this process. And it's okay to address it and get help for it, and not necessarily, if you don't want to have medical treatment for it, there's so many other ways that you can help yourself, and we'll go over some practical tips that you can do. I just want to address this comment by Sarah. Does it carry though? Does it carry through? Because my son is 5 years old and I still feel the same. So yes, you might just have anxiety that has carried on, and you might want to address that and just talk to someone about it. You might need to just do more self-care or more meditation or things to just curb the anxiety. So yes, it is possible that things go through. So I am 7 years into motherhood, inshallah, in November, and I still experience a lot of the things that I have talked to you about. I'm still working through all of this because I only was made aware of it, like, probably, I would say, around the time my second baby was born, and she was around 1. I literally, like, my periods were so bad, and they're actually still bad, but they're not as bad as they are. So I'm still working through those hormonal issues, but my anxiety and it was all so bad. And the first thing the doctor told me was, I can give you some depression medicine. I can give you some medication for depression. There was no like, do you have support? How can I help you? What can we do? It was just, you know, I'm just going to prescribe some medication for you. So this is why, you know, sometimes the doctors that we speak to are just useless. And it's important to speak to someone like either a therapist, or if you have a coach, or a peer that you can speak to that can advise you on the right thing, or like if you have a doula as well. And if you had a doula before, you would have to go through all of this with her. She would talk about all of this with you. Okay, so let's like set up a practical plan, right? That you can put in. Again, I can send this to you if you would like. So with the visitors, we talked about that and setting those boundaries, and really like in helping the people that, like, allowing those people that will actually nurture you and support you to be around you. You want that peer support and that emotional support. Hiring a doula is really important, whether it's for birth and postpartum. You could, because normally, and let me talk to you about what a doula is. I don't think I ever even talked about that. So if you don't know what a doula is, and if you have had a doula, please say, please type D in the chat. So a doula is basically a coach or someone that is going to support you and your partner during the birth process and the pregnancy process. So anytime you have an issue, you call her and ask her, like, you know, this happened at my appointment, or I'm feeling this, or what can I do? How can I prepare for the birth? All of this will be covered in your time during your prenatal appointments with your doula. She helps you at the hospital and helps you at home during your labor. Obviously now with COVID, things are very different, and we are having doulas do more virtual services, or there are doulas who are providing services with people who are comfortable having them around. Okay, they sometimes just wear masks both at home or in the hospital if they're allowed. Doulas weren't allowed in the hospitals for the longest time, and now it seems like they might be, in some hospitals are allowing them as a support person. And I even heard actually one person who had their doula instead of their husband, because their husband was going to be better off staying at home taking care of the babies, and she had her doula help her during her birth. So it really depends on what your goals are with that, but a doula can help you with whatever goals, whatever aspirations, anything you have for your birth and postpartum and your pregnancy. Even if you have a C-section, you can have a C-section doula, because C-sections are traumatic sometimes, and you want to have someone to support you. You want to create a plan with them. You could even speak to someone you can speak to a doula who just does consults. So that would be something that I could do as well. I started that because I felt like people had a lot of questions, but they didn't necessarily want to hire a doula. They felt like they had the support from their mom or sister at the hospital. So you can have like consults with me, like an hour or 2 hours or however many hours over your pregnancy, even your birth or postpartum, to talk through things, make a plan, and even just maybe have a call to just create your postpartum plan. Prenatal too, yes. And breastfeeding, you could have, and I will talk about that actually. Having a breastfeeding plan. So that's something, again, you know, we are not told to have a breastfeeding plan, right? Buying the necessary things that you need for breastfeeding. I didn't know that I would have cracked nipples and bleeding nipples and painful breastfeeding. I just thought baby would latch on, you'd feed, everything would be good. But no, it wasn't like that. It was a hard journey the first couple of weeks, and it was because there was a latch problem. Some babies will have tongue tie or lip tie, and there are things that you can do to help that. And you know, some people don't even buy a pump before they have the baby because they're like, I'm not going to pump, I'm just going to breastfeed. But then sometimes you actually do need that pump. So having those things in advance, having access to a lactation consultant or someone who is a breastfeeding educator, and your doula can help you with that too. I do that too. I can help you with that, help moms with that too. I didn't know that what cooling pads were, for example. These are just examples for breastfeeding things that you could buy. I bought cooling pads after I had my cracked nipples, and it helped so much soothe that pain, because I had the cream that everyone talked about. You need that cream, but the cream wasn't enough. Snacks, lactation snacks, you know, or food they're going to encourage you with your lactation. And then sometimes I want to address something with breastfeeding as well. You might have issues with breastfeeding, right? And then you might be told that, okay, you know, you're not getting any milk, baby is crying, just forget about that and supplement with formula. Yes, you could supplement with formula, but you need to address what the issue is with the breastfeeding. And that's where having access to a consultant or someone you can speak to, and having that in your plan, someone you know, okay, I'm going to call this person if I have issues with breastfeeding, or I'm going to go to the hospital and make an appointment with the lactation consultant that I saw. You might have low prolactin, which is a hormone that helps you produce breast milk. So you might need to address that as well. So that's with breastfeeding. And then in your plan as well, not in your plan, but preparing for postpartum, you want to have some classes. You want to do some classes. You want to do childbirth, how your childbirth education, and you want to also put a plan in for parenting. You want to know, you want to learn about parenting, I feel, because if you could learn about it early postpartum, or you could learn about it before. I feel that a lot of people go into parenting with the tools or with whatever that they're equipped with from where they came from. So the way their parents raised them, the way you have your mom's habits or your dad's habit, the way they parented you, those are not necessarily sometimes the right ways to parent, those traditional ways. And we don't know that until we get into issues where our kids are having behavioral issues or things like that. So this is not something that is typically mentioned, but it is important to have someone that you can speak to, a peer, a parenting peer, or someone or a class that you can take in your early postpartum. If you have time before you have your baby, even better, because you can absorb all that information without having a crying baby and without being so sleep deprived. Next thing is having a postpartum kit, for healing, like actual healing for your body. And I mentioned before a bath, a sitz bath, having a binder. Sometimes if you prefer not to buy a binder, you can get a girdle. I would highly suggest a belly binder. There's someone who sells them it's Muslim Sister on Instagram, and she's amazing. She's also a doula too. Having cold packs for down there when you are so sore, if you had a normal delivery, spray bottles, and these are things that are very commonly suggested as your list of things to take to the hospital. So I know that a lot of women do prepare for this. And then steaming, vaginal steaming. How many of you have heard of vaginal steaming? If you have, put a V. Sarah has. I love Sarah's answer. She knows she has. That's amazing. Amazing. Yay to Takia. So vaginal steaming is good for, you don't only have to do it postpartum, you can do it throughout motherhood. You can do it pre-baby as well. and even during pregnancy. So there, but you need to have, if you're doing it with herbs, you need to have the right herbs for that. And again, there are people who sell that online, and they help for, if you do them during pregnancy, they help your uterus and you prepare for labor. And then when postpartum, they help you with like eliminating all the dark, you know, that dark blood that you get after a birth. So just eliminating all of that, and you know, it helps you heal even faster. And other benefits of steaming are if you have infections, painful periods, if you are trying to get pregnant and you're struggling for fertility, that's also, there are some herbs for that too. Yes, you can get a binder from the hospital too, but my personal experience with those binders, I did not like them, but you could use those too as well if you like. Massages postpartum. My mom gave me a few massages, but I didn't really do much after that. And those are really important, especially like if you have C-section scars. There are specific massages that you can do to heal that incision area and to actually reduce the scar tissue that you get from C-sections. Did you know that when you have a C-section and then you have another baby, that scar tissue could prevent you from having a normal delivery after that? If you haven't like really massaged that tissue and taken care of it and broken it down. I did not know that, and to date, I actually truly believe that my scar tissue, because of accumulative C-sections, has been one of the reasons why my babies were never in optimal position for birth. Acupuncture. Has anyone done acupuncture before pregnancy or during pregnancy to help them go into labor or to help them relax during the pregnancy? So acupuncture is an amazing natural method of balancing everything in your body, and I used to love it because it would help me sleep. I did it weeks leading up to my births to help everything get into place and help my hormones and help your body just prepare for birth. You can do it postpartum as well to help your hormones, help your anxiety. I actually just started doing an acupuncture, and that's one of my forms of self-care right now, actually. I love it. So these are things you can incorporate later as well, as even if you're a mom of like 5-6 years, you know. And then having chiropractic adjustments, those are things that you should have in your plan to kind of get your body back into place, because when especially if you had a natural birth, all the effects of labor, sometimes people have really bad hip pain, back pain from epidurals or just from the labor. It can, sorry, hyper. Does it help? Do you mean acupuncture or adjustments? Acupuncture? I believe it can. Yes, I believe it can. So yeah, those are things that you can do to heal your body, like physically. And then you can also, in your plan, have essentials for your home and for your baby. Now, I want to talk about one thing here. A lot of people focus on getting all these, like, or if they have baby showers, for example, they'll get like 3 baby swings or like 2 different strollers or all of these things. It's fine, you know, if you can afford it and if you love it, go for it. However, how important are those things when you have your baby, right? How important are having like so many different things when you have your baby? If you collectively, if you look at the normal purchases and the normal investments that people make before people have babies, the things that you actually don't need and that you realize, hey, I didn't need this, I'm going to sell this, or I'm going to give it to somebody else. It's nice if you can give it to somebody else who actually needs it, but you could have used that money towards acupuncture, a postpartum massage, belly binder, steaming, you know, all those things. Food, having a food train, or like ordering food if you can't have a food train for someone delivering food to you. So all those things, I truly believe getting what you really need is important, and focusing on even putting down a request for a postpartum doula, asking your friends to put money together, say that's what I really want. I can take care of the other material things, but I want someone to help me take care of my birth, my pregnancy, and my emotional needs postpartum. And there's nothing wrong with that. I've had people message me and ask me if I can issue gift cards, or if they can pay for me to have a service for their friend. And obviously you want to, there will be technical things that need to go into the planning of that. You want to obviously connect with your doula, but that's you having that voucher or the money to be able to do that is an amazing gift. Then I was going to talk about nutrition. So having a meal plan, having a meal train set up, or having a meal service set up. So some people freeze food before the baby, so they get maybe either help, or they just, all the energy that they have in that last trimester, they get a lot of food, they prep and they freeze it. That's amazing if you can do that. If you can't, have a meal train set up for the first, I had it set up for the first 2 to 3 weeks for my second and third baby, because I truly just couldn't cope. It was just too hard. And there's nothing wrong with asking for that. Sometimes you might have this amazing friend that just says, do you want me to set this up for you? And you say yes, or they just set it up for you when you have the baby, and people just deliver food to your door and leave it outside. Honestly, just not having to worry about food, just like Naima was saying, it is the best thing ever. Because the last thing you want to do is step in that kitchen when you have a crying baby and trying to cook, and while you're holding a newborn, you want to have a space where you can go. You had no idea what a meal train is. I know, it's amazing. So if you have another baby, Hiba, or if you have a friend who's having a baby, please set it up. So meal trains are basically, that's the term that's used for it, but it's basically something that you set up to have someone deliver food. So one person will set up this Excel sheet, or there are websites that are called meal train. You can set it up. Everyone will put a day, so they'll it's basically like they'll put their name and they'll put the meal that they're going to deliver, and they basically just either deliver at the doorstep, leave it there, or they knock on the door and they give it to the mom and they come and see the mom. It just depends on the comfort level, if you know. It's amazing if you can set it up for a friend. I truly believe it's the best gift. It doesn't cost any money. People will cook from home. I mean, what is more amazing than having a home cooked meal brought to you when you've just had a baby, right? Yeah, you can just set that up too. Yeah, it is pretty cool, alhamdulillah. Having a space for yourself postpartum. So some people will have like a chair or something in their nursery. Some people don't. Never had that space. So I never really had a spot to go, just sit on the sofa. But having a space for yourself where you can maybe feed the baby at that time, look outside if it's by a window, or a place that you can sit and just rest if you want to read a book. Just your own space, basically. That's for you, as a mom. And then one other important thing is having support groups. People that you can turn to, your friends, your friend circle, joining support groups on Facebook. There are loads of them. There's so many mom support groups. Getting the right one is really good. Or maybe even if you are joining a official support group, like buying a course or a workshop, you could do it that way too. But having that support is really important, because especially as a new mom, you might, and even as an experienced mom. So I have recently been potty training, right? And I've done it twice before. And I posted somewhere about the trouble that I'm having, not trouble, but the struggles that I'm having potty training my youngest. And I was so amazed to have so many people tell me, we've been through that before, that is normal. And I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that was normal, even after I've potty trained 2 times before. And it just gives you that ease, that peace of mind. Your heart is set at ease, and you are, you just feel like, I'm not alone in this. There's other people going through this, and I'm not alone. Breastfeeding support. So I mentioned before, having a lactation consultant, or maybe you went for a lactation breastfeeding class before your birth, and having access to a peer or doula that can help you with breastfeeding as well. So it's really important. I truly believe that if a mom does not have that support with breastfeeding, sometimes if things go wrong and she doesn't have that supportive person around her, it really will affect her breastfeeding journey. You know, stress causes low supply. If you don't feed your baby for a long time, it can cause your supply to dip. But even if you don't feed your baby for like 10 days, for example, you try and nothing is coming out, some people will just give up, you know. But I had a postpartum client last year that no matter how much she would breastfeed, her baby would cry. So what she did was she supplemented and she breastfed and she would pump. The poor woman did not sleep. It was exhausting, but her goal was to be able to breastfeed her child. And even if it was exhausting for her, that was her goal and that was her what she really wanted. So you know, you need people around you that are going to say, I'll help you with that. Let's create a plan. Let's see what's the problem. Let's like try to figure it out. Let's like, get to the root issue. Why isn't it working? Or keep going. Not like I had someone text me the other day on Instagram. She's actually a friend of mine. And she mentioned I'm having issues breastfeeding. This is my fourth child. I don't have time to sit for an hour. Can you help me find a good supplement formula? So I didn't tell her, here's the supplement formula. I refused to do that. I said, tell me what is the problem? What exactly is happening? She mentioned baby was not sleeping, baby was restless, she was not sleeping, and she was stressed, and baby was just feeding too long. So I talked to her about the latch. I talked to her about maybe putting some essential oils or giving the baby a bath before they feed or before they sleep, using a swaddle to help them sleep longer so that they are not like startled by their hands and waking up and not and then with babies they'll just wake up and look for feeding, and some people will be like, okay, I'll just feed you, and maybe they're just not looking to be fed at that time. They're not really hungry, they're just uncomfortable. So because you're looking for those cues, right, to breastfeed, so you could mistake the cues and feed when you don't need to really feed. So yeah, so really getting to that root issue, and alhamdulillah, she said yes, she actually slept better after using a swaddle. She felt so much better after having a bath, and I used some lavender essential oil, obviously not directly on the baby. You dilute it with a lot of with a supplement oil like coconut oil. Yeah, using a bouncer, that sometimes that can help because you don't want to just be like bouncing baby all the time. So yeah, just having that support, someone who will give you those suggestions. And then having a plan for diaper changes and night feedings. A lot of people don't do this, right? You just go into motherhood and then you're expected, you wake up the first couple of nights, your husband's going to expect you to wake up every single night and do everything for the rest of motherhood. But you need to, as a mother, if you have, if your husband is around, you need to be like, I need you to help me right now. Wake him up at night. Wake him up and tell him, I need your help right now. I need your help with, I've just fed him or her and I need to go to the bathroom. Can you please change him so that, and then I'll come back and put baby to sleep, You have to ask. You have to have that plan before. So don't ask after a couple of times, and yes, and burping as well is really important. But what I'm saying is having that conversation with your spouse about it before and setting those boundaries. Those are boundaries. And that is also your self-care, because that gives you more sleep, right? That gives you more rest. That gives you more support. That's all self-care for you. And also loving yourself, because if you're not going to do that, then you are going to just wear yourself out. And then if you have kids, if you have other older kids, when you come home, having a plan for who is going to take care of them when you come home. Do you have to do the school runs? Can someone else take care of that for the few weeks after you have the baby? Can your husband take care of that? Can you have play dates with somebody? Can someone come over and bring their child, or take your child and drop him off and have him at someone's place to play, for example, so to keep him occupied? Maybe new toys for the baby. So having a plan for that. You don't want to just enter motherhood and be like, why is this baby so having so many tantrums? Why is he so clingy? Why is, I just need time to nurse, he's not letting me nurse. You want to have that plan before. And obviously things might not go as planned, because babies are just unpredictable. They will just do whatever they want at any time. But just having that plan, for your older kids as well. And then last but not least, having a plan with your partner. So I talked about other things that you would talk to your partner about, but really sitting down with your partner, your husband, and talking about what is going to happen when you have that baby, how things are going to be, what is the expectation that you have of him, how much involvement you want your partner to have, because I didn't do that, for example, right? And my mom came for 3 weeks. She helped us. She cooked. She cleaned. And I still took on a lot more than I should have while she was here. And my husband got used to that. He got used to my mom helping, and he was pretty helpful before we had the baby. Then my mom leaves, and weeks pass, and I notice my husband will help with a few things here and there, but he's become super laid back. And I had to have a talk with him at one point, and I was like, what is going on? Like, why aren't you used to help and you're not helping? So, you don't want to have the conversation too late in the game. It's good to have it whenever you need to, but you want to plan it before. So the expectations are set, the boundaries are set before you have the baby, and everyone knows, okay, this is what I'm expected to do, and this is what I agreed to do. And that way, that will help you through motherhood, because once you have like 2 or 3 kids, you will have more breaks. Your husband will understand that this is what you expect and what you need, because we will go into motherhood and do everything we want to. We're super women. We take care of everything. And then one day, 2 years down the line, we're like, I can't do this anymore. I'm so tired. You need to help. You need to do this. And your husband will be like, but wait a minute, you did it for 2 years. You were fine. You never said anything. And that's where that planning and talking comes into place prior. And it's really important to have that in your plan with your husband. I want to talk about one more thing before we end. I realize it's already an hour past. I want to talk about some things that don't cost anything. I've mentioned them before, but like meditation, walking in the grass, for example. I don't know if any of you have tried this for grounding, but walking in the grass. The feeling on your feet walking in grass, it just feels like, just standing on our beautiful Allah's creation is just amazing. Like, it just grounds you and helps you feel, if you're having anxiety in that moment, it takes it away. So walking, taking breathing exercises during times that you're feeling that anxiety. Adhkar, of course, talking to your friend, talking to your peer, talking to your spouse, voicing what you're feeling. I had a friend of mine who told me postpartum she would just cry on her husband's shoulders, and he would just tell her, it's okay, everything will be fine. How many times have you heard something like that happen? It was unheard of to me when I heard her say that. And she was like, I just needed to cry. I just needed, because postpartum, they need to understand that postpartum is, you're going to have these moments. You're going to cry, you're going to laugh, you're going to do different things. Like, that's what they say is baby blues. Like, you're just up and down. And then next thing was, I mentioned all the other things, but just incorporating, those are free things. You can take a sitz bath at home. You can steam at home. These are things you can do that won't cost you anything, right? Take a walk with your baby regularly, get some fresh air, go out into nature, do some yoga, pull up a YouTube video, do some yoga. So this is all like free things that you can do that you can incorporate into your postpartum self-care routine. Like, create a routine for yourself from the beginning. One of the last things I wanted to say, like pointers I wanted to say before I end, is you will notice that as you become a new mom in the postpartum period, you feel like things are changing, right? You are just so like, what is happening to me? I don't feel like the same person. Everything has changed overnight, and yes, everything will change overnight, but don't fight that new, it's like almost like a new identity, right? You're finding yourself as this mother, this new identity all over, like, after having a baby. So don't fight that, and just kind of, I want to say roll with it, but just slowly accept it. Don't fight it, basically. Don't give in to pressures. So if someone says, you can't do this, you should do this, you shouldn't do this, everyone is going to have an opinion when you have a baby. Everyone is going to say, well, you could have done this, you shouldn't have done this, but don't give in to those pressures. Trust yourself. You are the mom, you know what's best. And sometimes you might not know what's best, and you might need that advice and you might ask for it, but don't like entertain people who just want to give you their opinion and, just stress you. Like, and sometimes you might love motherhood, sometimes you might hate it. And that's fine. One day you're gonna feel like, I just can't stand, just need to get away from here. Other days you're just filled with love and just, you just can't even like deal with it, and that's okay. Having compassion for yourself through all of this, and that's where the self-care ties in. It's really important. Not blaming yourself, and I'm telling you this from experience. If your baby is crying when you're breastfeeding, or after you're breastfeeding, or even after your baby's misbehaving as a toddler, it is not your fault. So a lot of us, me, myself, I blame myself. I take it on myself. I'm like, I'm a bad mom. My baby's crying. I can't control them. I can't do this. I can't, it's not your fault. Baby is crying. Let them cry. And then you take care of what their needs are in that moment, and then take care of that. We can't like take it on. We take a lot on ourselves, and we shouldn't have to do that. Being mindful obviously obviously plays a part in that. Another important thing to know is, you want to process that birth experience postpartum. So with your doula, if you have a doula, you can talk through that. Before you have another baby, talk through someone, or just process and heal from that birth experience, because it might affect your birth later on. And even though I've talked about fathers not being too helpful, there are fathers out there that are helpful, mashallah, and they're amazing. They do whatever they can. But, I don't know if anyone knew this, but fathers also go through postpartum blues. So their world is also turned upside down. Like, there's this new baby in the home, their wife is not the same, they can't have their wife's attention, they can't. So this is where you want to have your plan before talking to your husband, how things are going to be. Like, do you want to have date nights? Is it that really important to you both? And setting that up, and having a support person, having some money aside for your babysitter, for example. It is okay to go on a date night in your first few months of a postpartum. If you're comfortable to do that, it's okay. We have to prioritize. Like, I feel like I can count on like two hands how many times I went on dates with my husband in the last 7 years, so we have to prioritize that relationship, because it's that relationship that brought the baby into the world, right? Yeah, so I'll leave you with one last thing before I take on questions or answer any questions that have come in. This is something I read and I found it really powerful. It says, would you deprive your child of eating healthy foods, moving their bodies, getting enough rest, playing with friends, drawing, painting, reading, exploring, signing? I don't know what that means, but dancing and spending quiet time alone. Would you deprive your child of that? I can 1000% assume everyone's going to say, no, you're not going to deprive your child of that, right? You wouldn't. So why would you deprive yourself of that? And why wouldn't you put that, why wouldn't you take care of yourself and allow yourself to do that? So when you are in a position where you want to just give, think about yourself in that moment and ask yourself, what do I need? And what am I feeling? And why am I feeling in that? Why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? Maybe I didn't give myself X, Y, and Z today. What do I need to get through the day too? Not only what do the husbands need, or what do the kids need? What does the family need? Put yourself first, because if you're not okay, your family won't be okay. Caring for yourself is not selfish. It's telling yourself that you are worthy of having an amazing life, just like the life that you want to give your kids as well. So yeah, that's all I have for you today.
MashaAllah. Jazakallah khairan. Thank you.
Sorry, that was a lot of information that I kind of threw out.
So I definitely know that everybody is going to be accessing the replay, inshallah. You guys can hop into the Facebook group to watch it over again, pause, take a note, write more stuff, whatever you need to do, inshallah. And also you can follow Afra on Instagram and on social media. Did you say that you had something for them, like a plan template or something?
Yes. So I will put my email down. Should I leave it in the group?
Yeah, put it in the group. That's
okay,
the best
so I'll
place.
put it in the Facebook group, and you guys can contact me and I can send that to you if you need it. I also have a mother's meditation that a friend of mine and I created for mothers. And I have affirmations on my website too. And if anyone is pregnant or in the postpartum phase and would like a consult with me, I am taking virtual consults at the moment. So yeah, I would love to support you if I, whatever way I can, inshallah.
Perfect, mashallah, sounds amazing. Okay, ladies, you heard it here first. Please make dua for Sister Afra and her family. Allow her to continue to do the work that she's doing. And inshallah, every one of you that needs her help, please do go to her, inshallah, and make sure that you are well supported and looked after at this very, very special time in your life, inshallah. We are going to close it up now. Afra is in the Facebook group, so you can go in there and you can tag her if you want to share your takeaways, etc. Otherwise, I will see you in just over an hour and a half for the next session. Is it? No, it's in about 45 minutes. What am I talking about?
Okay, all right.
For the next session, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan, ladies. Thank you so much.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you.
Move around a little bit, get some fresh air, inshallah. Have a coffee, have a tea. We'll see you back for the next, the final session of the day, inshallah. Sister Afra, may Allah reward you. Jazakallah khair, and thank you so much, sis.
Ameen. Jazakallah khair. Thank you for having me. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
لا إله إلا أنت واستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم.
Assalamu alaikum.